In January this year, I left Denmark to go find some sun in Malta. It was a long journey to the tiny Aarhus airport, but just a short, cheap flight to the home of the Azapartis. I was very lucky to have Uncle Bert come and pick me up from the airport to drop me off at my first destination in Malta, where I stayed with Dad's cousin Alex and his wife Mariella. I was so excited to finally see the sun again, and I was blessed with a beautiful sunset on my walk around Malta that evening. Walking around Malta Square brought back so many memories from when we were there in 2017. The following day, I had to pick up my race bib for an event I was taking part in that weekend. Mariella drove me down to Birkirkara, where I checked in and explored my surroundings. This may not be the most beautiful street in Malta, but it deserves a mention because it's Azaparti Street. And apparently they still use a horse and cart to get around. Race morning rolled around. It was warm despite it being winter, and I had heaps of fun. I went back home after the race to shower and chill for a bit before going back out to Medina, the silent city. I visited Palazzo Falson, which is a medieval townhouse in Medina, which visitors can now walk through and look at the historic home. The audio guide I'm using here was awesome, so I could learn about what I was looking at. Apparently, these were meant to be sculptures of cows. Most of these watches were so old, specifically from the 18th century, where French decimal time was used. This meant that there were 100 seconds in a minute, 100 minutes in an hour, and a day was divided into 10 hours. Always a favourite of mine, the home library. I then treated myself to a very expensive Maltese cookie at the top of the museum. I spent hours just walking around the laneways of Medina, trying to soak in the atmosphere before the gates closed and I had to leave. Many of you would know that I love to top off race day with a chalky milk. It wasn't as good as the one in Poznan, but it definitely hit the spot. I vividly remember going to this restaurant with the fam, Alex and Mariella, in 2017, so I had to stop by. It wasn't open, but it's still there. The next day was super windy, as you can see and hear from the waves. I went for a walk to the Red Tower, also known as St. Agatha's Tower or Fort St. Agatha. It was a long walk up a hill and totally exposed, for a good reason. It was built in 1647 to serve as a signal post for communication between Valletta and Gozo. At the time of construction, they couldn't have known just how important this tower was during both World Wars. Used as a defence post for observation and housed soldiers. It became a crucial link for their safety. The 360 views were spectacular, and the way they have maintained the now heritage listed site is incredible. Over the past couple of years, it has been undergoing restorations so they can continue to have visitors in the tower. Time to walk back down the big hill, which was a lot easier than going up. I also found Mum's people, runners on the trails. Our favourite pastizzi joint was still in business in Malta, so I ended up there most days to get my pastizzi fix. When you're on the other side of the world, you make the most of the time you have to catch up with family. I went out for a nice lunch with John, Peter and Sandra, and of course Amy the doggo, who I got to meet last time. The sun came out, so I went to the San Anton Gardens in Attard. This is where the president of Malta lives. This is where my race started a few days earlier. It was odd seeing it empty, quiet, and in daylight. I obviously had to stop at the infamous Medina Glass warehouse, where I watched the glass blowers get to work. I also love seeing the shop display. I also came across the Tquali petting farm. Apparently, it's made for kids, but I had a great time hanging out with the animals myself. Next up, I was super excited to go to the craft village. I was so disappointed it had completely changed from the last time I went. It looked so dull and boring, and there weren't many crafts up for sale either. It started to pour, so it was time to go home. Apparently Mum and Matt had run on this track last time we were in Malta, but that was well before my triathlon days, and I had no interest in running laps of a track when I could do absolutely anything else instead. Obviously, this time was a bit different. I still had a program to follow, and now I believe that my racing and training have been some of the best ways to explore the world. I was super keen to try a prickly pear, but unfortunately they weren't in season, so I guess I'll just have to go back. Please excuse the shaky filming. I was running after all. Most of these places were only accessible by foot, which I think makes it a whole lot more exciting. Most of these tracks didn't even exist on Google Maps. Later that day, I caught the bus into Valletta. It didn't necessarily blow my mind like last time, but it was a beautiful day and the city was buzzing. I still loved the iconic Upper Baracca Gardens and sat down to enjoy it with a pastizzi. I missed the cannon firing for the day, but I still saw the saluting battery, and probably chuckled to myself a bit seeing these soldiers have a leisurely stroll and chat while on duty. I can't imagine there would be many other places letting their soldiers walk around like that during work hours. As we all know, I love a train, so I thought it was super cool seeing this little tour train doing the rounds of Valletta. No, these places do not belong to my family, but it was cool to pretend for a day. So that was pretty much it for my day in Valletta and Malta this time around. I caught the bus back to Alex and Mariella's place, going past the Mosta Rotunda. I went in here last time with the family, so I didn't feel the need to go again. But for anyone visiting, I do recommend having a look at the miracle of the Mosta Dome. I am so grateful for Alex and Mariella's hospitality, their home and food while I was there. This isn't totally the end though. as Mariella dropped me off at the ferry so I could go meet Bert, Moira and Penny in Gozo.